Hello and welcome to the Dream Team Professor podcast. My name is Scott, and in this episode, we're looking at the top players to target in Game Week 7 Sun Dream team. Now, I've got some very bad news for you. We've got just a single game week this week, and it's an international break after that. So another big gap from football or just fantasy football. There's still football, there's international football, but it just isn't the same, is it? So single game week this week, international break. We then have another 4 game weeks of fantasy football and then another international break. So they just keep coming. But this week, Friday night deadline, 6:30 p.m. So don't get caught out by that one. We've had a couple Saturday deadlines in a row. Set your team during the day on Friday, just in case you start having a good time and forget to do your team. So Friday deadline, 6:30 p.m. And then single game week for everyone this week. So single game week players are obviously back on the table. If you've got single game week players in your team and you've been for the last couple of weeks thinking, how can I try and move these on to people that have got Europe? This week kind of isn't the end of the world. And we also did see this week, I'm always someone that does try and go after fixture volume, trying to get extra games. But this week was one of those examples of where it doesn't go to plan. I had a load of midweek benchings or injuries in my team, and I imagine quite a lot of you guys probably did as well. So it doesn't always work out, but I still would stick to the principle of trying to, in the longer term, get the extra games. But if you have to hold a Semenyo, a Bruno Fernandes, an Everton defender, for example, in a single this week, it's absolutely fine. So I'm still going to highlight the teams that do have Europe in the longer term, because if you do have multiple single game week players, you are going to eventually want to move them on, because we've got games coming thick and fast straight after this international break. So in game week 8, it's a double game week with European football and Premier League. Game week 9, it's Premier League plus Carabao Cup. Game week 10 is Premier League plus Europe again. So the teams on this fixture ticker from not only FPL that are highlighted as having 7 fixtures across the next 4 game weeks are Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, Newcastle. You've got Chelsea, Spurs, and Crystal Palace there. They're the teams of 7, so they've got Premier League, European football, and they're still in the Carabao Cup. You'll see some teams that have 6 fixtures here, so like Aston Villa, despite they're in Europe, they're a game short. You've got Nottingham Forest as well, same scenario. These teams have Europe, but no Carabao Cup. And then you've got a few teams there with 5 fixtures. So, for example, you've got Brighton, Fulham, Brentford, Wolves. These teams aren't in Europe, but they do have the extra Carabao Cup fixture. Everyone else just has the 4 games. So, theoretically, 7 fixtures up for grabs compared to 4 over the next 4 game weeks, if you did just go for a Premier League only side. But again, like we saw this week, it doesn't usually work like that. But longer term, I think we still will try to look towards the double game week sides. It's just not the end of the world this week. So a quick run through some of these ones. So Liverpool, Chelsea away in a single. Now, Liverpool have been a little bit off it over the last couple of games. Something doesn't seem to be gelling currently for them. And they've got Chelsea away in a single. So I don't think it's a particularly good week to target Liverpool players. We will touch on them in a slide a bit later. And obviously the same sort of goes for Chelsea. Keep getting players sent off. I've got a few injuries at the moment, and obviously home to Liverpool isn't going to be an ideal fixture. Man City, Arsenal, Newcastle, I think all have a good run of fixtures from this point onwards, or already started it. So Man City, good form. Brentford this week away from home, who have been conceding goals. In game week 8, you've got Everton and Villarreal. Game week 9, Villa and Swansea. And game week 10, Bournemouth and Borussia Dortmund. So I think this is a good time to get on City players if you didn't do it in the previous 2 game weeks. Arsenal have got West Ham at home, which does look like the start of a really nice fixture run for them, apart from they've now sacked their manager. It does feel like Arsenal, this might just be me, but it does feel like Arsenal quite often do end up playing against the teams that have just got a new manager in. But West Ham at home probably has become a little bit more difficult now with Nuno in charge. After that, it's Fulham away, Atletico at home, Crystal Palace at home, Brighton at home in the Carabao Cup, and then it's Burnley and Slavia in game week 10. So again, really nice run for Arsenal, but the squad depth is making things difficult. Newcastle, good week for them. Quite unlucky to lose out in that Arsenal match in the end with the late goal. But the fixture run looks good after that, and they bounced back nicely in the Champions League last night. So it's Nottingham Forest at home, which typically looked a harder fixture. Is it now? And just not off to the best of starts at the moment. So I think that looks okay. You've got Brighton away, Benfica, Fulham at home, and then Tottenham in the Carabao Cup, and then West Ham away, and Athletic Bilbao at home. So I think decent time to target Newcastle. I mentioned Chelsea. I'm going to leave Villa out for now because they did respond. They've had 2 back-to-back wins now, and they do have Burnley at home. We will do a slide on them, but I think a lot of us will want to try and work out whether they are well and truly back or whether it has just been a blip. But it's Burnley at home, Tottenham away, go ahead Eagles, Man City at home, Liverpool away, and Maccabi Tel Aviv. So I think we've just got to keep an eye and see what Villa are up to. Spurs, I think their run's still fine. They have, I think, dipped in form a little bit over the past couple of weeks, but again, they've still got good dream team options. Leeds away, Villa at home, Monaco away, Everton away, Newcastle away, Chelsea at home, and then Copenhagen at home. And then Crystal Palace. So looking forward to seeing them in Europe this evening. So Dynamo Kiev this evening, Everton away from home in a single. They've got Bournemouth and AEK Athens at home in a double in game week 8, which looks nice. Game week 9 looks difficult. Arsenal away and Liverpool away. But they did pretty well against Arsenal last season. They've already just beat Liverpool in the Prem. And is it unbeaten in 18 games? So I think we do have to just class Palace as a top team at the minute. So maybe not as difficult as it looks on paper. Brentford at home, and then AZ Alkmaar at home. Nottingham Forest, I haven't ticked them just on this graphic where they've got the 6 fixtures, but we will cover them. But it hasn't been the best of starts for Ange. Now they've got Newcastle away, Chelsea at home, Porto at home, Bournemouth away. All of those fixtures look pretty tough. Then it's Manchester United at home and Sturm Graz away in Europe. So we are keeping an eye on Forest and seeing how they will respond. Let's look at some players to target. There'll be timestamps below if you want to skip around. Drop a like on the video if you're finding it useful, and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Almost at a 5K milestone. So let's start off with Manchester City. Erling Haaland is just in ridiculous form now. I kind of feel sorry for you if you don't have Haaland in your team. Even if you don't have Haaland captained this week, but you have him in your team, you would have taken a batter into your rank. I'm pretty sure even if you had him in your team and you captained him, some people were even playing goal bonus, which was coming out with a ridiculous result as well this week for him. So 2 goals, 1 assist in the first match against Burnley, which was looking quite quiet early doors, but then obviously did come back with those late attacking returns, and then 2 goals against Monaco. And the thing that is scaring me about Haaland at the minute is he's not even scoring tap-ins. Like, some of these goals are just insane. Like the one against Napoli, which was just a couple of weeks back, was just a really difficult chance to put away. Obviously, great goal against Arsenal. But then like last night, I saw he scored 2 again, and I was kind of thinking, oh, it's just gonna be a couple of tap-ins, but really difficult goals that he's putting away. So really, really impressive. And just looking at the fixture run at the moment, like Brentford away, I'd like to go against it, but just is there any point? He's just so good. 11 goals, 1 assist already this season. Surely there's just a perma captaincy argument from sort of game week 7 onwards. While the likes of Salah isn't looking up to it, I'll talk about some other options as well later on in this captaincy section. But just you look at these fixtures and you think Brentford away, yeah. Everton at home, yeah. Villarreal away, yeah. Villa themselves not defending great. Obviously, game week 9, Swansea, you reckon he probably gets a rest away from home in that one, a well-earned rest. Then game week 10, a home double of Bournemouth and Borussia Dortmund. Like, which ones are you going to back against Haaland in for those, unless he's out injured or unfit? So, yeah, I think probably just take the decision out of our hands for these next few weeks, see how things play out, and then just try and make your gains elsewhere on the pitch, because it does feel like going against him, it can be a season ender at times. So that's the bit on Haaland. with these fixtures, I think it probably is worth holding the rest of your City players. So I went for Phil Foden to go alongside Haaland this week. Didn't cut it. 5 points this week for him. 3 points against Monaco, just 2 against Burnley. So that is disappointing. And then Doku, who was kind of one of the sort of 50-50 options, I think. Reinders probably you put in the mix as well. Doku's done really, really well this week, and he's looking probably the better now, you would say. But you wouldn't be surprised if you then go to Doku and then Foden does well, or go to Doku and Reinders does well. I think just the main thing to do is just have that City player alongside Haaland, because if you think he's going to keep scoring these goals every week, someone's got to provide for him. And then, he's had an assist as well. The team seems to be functioning quite well. And I just think if you do take out one of these players to try and chase the one that did well the week before, you could get punished. Now, you could drop from Foden to Doku, save yourself some money, which is absolutely fine. But I don't know. I instantly sort of felt a bit disappointed about Foden's result and thought, can I move him on? Shall I move him on? But you just know how this game works. It can come back and bite you. And not are you just taking him out because he got a bad score the week before, because the fixtures do look good going forward. And Foden hit the crossbar, looked pretty good in that Monaco game yesterday. Reinders, I think, hit the woodwork in that game as well, coming quite close. So it's not like these players are playing badly. It's just you're looking against them. You're looking next to someone else in that team that's done really, really well. And you're thinking, should I have just gone for that one instead? So I think Doku, if you got him, you're obviously buzzing. 2 assists, max bonus, 3 shots on target, 17-pointer against Burnley. You're buzzing if you've got him in. And if you haven't got a City player, no reason not to get Doku in. But if you got Foden, I wouldn't panic. And if you've got Reinders, I also wouldn't panic, because not the best returns this week, but I think they could definitely do it next week. And the fixtures do look good. But going in fresh, you probably do go for Doku this week. Matthias Nunes filled in at right back against Burnley, which looked exciting. At the start of the season, I thought he was going to be a good dream team option at right back. He'd done really well in the Club World Cup, and he had scored previously quite well for Man City on Dream Team, but didn't then play the Champions League game. John Stones come back in, played that more sort of inverted right back, which he can do, or filling in as a centre back at times as well. But did look quite good. I think it's enough to put you off of going for Nunes. I don't think he's definitely going to be nailed for 2 games a week, despite getting a goal and an assist in the Burnley game and looking pretty good. Nico O'Reilly got a 10-pointer, and he's been scoring really, really nicely, actually. And he's really cheap price. And I know a few people had asked me about him, and I'm not keen just for the fact that he's down as a midfielder. So you're not going to get those clean sheet points, even though he is playing in defence. But for 2.1 million, if you were like really, really stuck and that's all you had to work with, 10 points against Monaco, got an assist, 6 tackles, shot on target, bonus. He hit 4 tackles, got bonus against Burnley. He's starting all of these games. He started in the Huddersfield game in the Cup. He started Arsenal, 2 tackles, just the 3 points in that one. I don't hate it. I just think you will feel pretty hard done by when he's not getting the clean sheets. On to my team, Arsenal. So it's a good week to be an Arsenal fan. It's a good week to sort of look at the squad and everything you've got. But when it comes to actual dream team, it's becoming a bit of a ball ache, to be honest with you, because the squad is so good. It becomes hard to choose which players you want in your team. So I went for Eze this week, and I kind of looked at it and thought, I'm not certain that he's going to get the Newcastle game, but I think he will get the Olympiacos game. Completely reversed. So Eze plays in the number 10 position against Newcastle, which all fans are really, really happy to see. But then benched against Olympiacos, which, given the context, not too much of a surprise, but it's just becoming so unpredictable now to try and get this Arsenal team down and get 2 games a week from them. Big rotation. So Timber, Calafiori, Saka, Eze, and Declan Rice all left out in the Champions League. When Declan Rice is someone that's getting rested, you've got a problem when it comes to Dream Team. It's great that you can do it in the football matches and rest the players. It's great. But when it comes to Dream Team, that's trouble. So Gyökeres, 5.5. He's someone that I really did want for this West Ham fixture. Obviously, I think the fixture has got a little bit worse. I was kind of considering that as a Potter West Ham fixture. But he's getting plenty of minutes. 2 lots of 90s. this week. Maybe that comes a bit down to the um, match state because in both games, Arsenal needed a goal. I think if Arsenal are a goal ahead or 2 goals ahead, we might start seeing him getting those 60, 70 minutes again, possibly. But 5 games without a goal does to the eye look a bit of a concern, but he did get an assist yesterday, and it was really unlucky. He went through 1-on-1, hit the post, and it came back out. I think Martinelli was literally trying to wait and see if it was going to go in, if it was going to trickle in, but in the end had to finish it off. And so Gyökeres gets the assist for that. So came away with 6 points yesterday. I think if you can afford him without ripping up your team too much, I do think it is a nice pick. I had eyed it up as a possible captaincy shout, but there are levels, and Haaland is just levels above at the minute. So I don't think I'd be taking that risk. He's on 3 goals, 1 assist for the season. I think he is looking sharper. He's looking better. I think he's a good enough pick, but I wouldn't quite captain him. But I think with all the rotation in the other spots, I think he is looking a good pick because there isn't really anyone else that's going to play that position unless it's a Marino, unless it's like a Trossard. But I don't see when in this run we might do that. Fulham away, Atletico Madrid at home. I know we were just rotated in the Champions League against Olympiacos, but I think Atletico are a much stronger opposition. Game week 9, Crystal Palace at home. Don't see it. Brighton at home, though, in the Carabao Cup. Maybe that's a rotation fixture. Burnley away, Slavia in game week 10. Maybe Slavia Prague. Could be rotation. But yeah, I think Gyökeres is going to be a good pick for this run, but there could be plenty of sort of 2 pointers, 3 pointers in there in games where he isn't scoring. Saka 6.1. So back against Newcastle, played 70 minutes after playing in the Port Vale game. Just the 17 minutes against Olympiacos though, but it was enough to get him a goal. And that was quite interesting. Came on, double sub with Eze. They did start out, I think it was like Eze at possibly 10 and then, or off the left and then Saka on the right. But they did switch. I mean, only 17 minutes left of the game, but they did switch. And then there was a point where Eze was sort of wide right, Saka was wide left. And that's where Saka got his goal from. So Arsenal definitely trying a few new things. Tactically, I think they did it at a point in the Man City game as well, chasing a goal. Just makes them that bit more unpredictable. But it was interesting to see because Saka would only play right wing for the last couple of seasons under Arteta. So I don't think 6.1, Saka is always going to be a good pick, but I just want him to be starting every single game and playing sort of 90 odd minutes in most games to pay that price for him at the moment. So I'm not that interested unless you got bags of cash. Eze, I think he's gone down a little bit in sort of how targetable he is. He's in my team for clarity, 5.2 million. I was really impressed against Newcastle. So 2 shots on target, and it's nice and refreshing to see an Arsenal player just shooting from out the box, shooting on sight, and they were decent shots too. But the benching came again, and he has had a few of them lately. So I think he'll definitely start West Ham. I think he'll start off the left in that one. I think Odegaard done enough to play in the 10. But come game week 8, Fulham Atletico, I would not be surprised if he starts 1. And then game week 9, Crystal Palace Brighton, wouldn't be surprised if he starts 1 as well. So just one thing to consider with Eze, but still think it's a solid option. Odegaard at 4.1, obviously working his way back from that shoulder injury, but played 90 minutes in this one. Had a really good impact off the bench against Newcastle. And he was class yesterday against Olympiacos. Got an assist for the Saka goal, 7 points, but playing a lot quicker. Got interviewed after the game as well by Keown and was saying you seem to be playing a lot quicker and finding passes and playing with more urgency. And it did show. It did show. I think it could make him a little bit of a better pick. 4.1 is a nice price if you are struggling to get Arsenal players in. Gabriel 4.9. So he was the guy that I was between Gabriel and Calafiori this week, but Gabriel is now going to get the price rise after his goal against Newcastle and then obviously getting the clean sheet against Olympiacos. So 13 points for the first one, 6 points for the second one. But he did go off with a knock. Now, Arteta sort of said it doesn't seem too serious. He said he's played a lot of games, so they wanted to protect him and that he could have carried on. So he has sort of, called cooled that Gabriel situation down a little bit, but it is a little bit of a worry in a single game week as well. But I do think he probably will start. The quote was, I think he's going to be okay. He felt something. I think it was a kick in the first half. He could carry on, but we decided not to take any risks because he's played a lot of games. He's coming from a long-term injury and we need to look after him. International break coming up as well. If he was rested, if he was left out, there is a chance then to not send him on an international duty. But I do still get a gut feeling that he will play West Ham, but there is a risk involved. Calafiori at 4.4. Now, he was someone that I was interested in because of the price point, and he's played the bulk of games before yesterday. Calafiori played all of the fixtures apart from Port Vale, where Skelly came in. But Skelly did come in for this Champions League game, so that's 2 out of the last 3 that Skelly's played. One in the Champions League, one in the Carabao Cup. I still think Calafiori will play the bulk of games, but there is now a chance that there will be rotation, and Skelly's look good in both of those. Timber at 5.2. Now, Arsenal defenders are right up there in the overall scoring because of some of the attacking returns and because of the clean sheets, obviously. But Timber is the second highest scoring player on the game. Gabriel is now the third highest scoring player on the game. I think Timber's slightly a less chance of rotation than Calafiori at the moment. Just seeing Ben White, I think Ben White does seem to be a bit more off it than what Skelly is. Still working his way back. Could only play 58 minutes yesterday before Timber came on. So that says to me that he's not in the best of conditions yet. And I think Timber probably will play the bulk as well. And then maybe Ben White comes in for, I don't know, maybe the Brighton game or maybe the odd Prem game. But at the moment, I think Timber is probably going to be pretty nailed at that right back position. But all of these positions really come with a little bit of risk. So my preference at the moment is Gabriel, but with the caveat that maybe he has got a slight knock. If I did look to double up, I could possibly do it next week and wait for Calafiori's price to come down a little bit. On to Liverpool. So it's back-to-back defeats for Liverpool and a not very nice single against Chelsea away from home. They keep chopping and changing the lineups, and you got to say none of the new signings have particularly clicked yet. Isak is still kind of working his way up. Wirtz has had a pretty difficult time, not really getting the attacking returns. I think Ekatike's probably looked the brightest of all the new signings and probably should carry on starting. But even Frimpong struggled. Kirkes has slotted in nicely, but he's now getting a little bit of criticism as well. So, yeah, not the best. And I do wonder whether Slot might try and sort of take it back to basics with stuff that was working a bit more last season for a few games. So we'll have to wait and see. But Salah is someone that we keep getting questions about. And now on our Dream Team Tonic episode on Monday, we had a few questions about would I consider selling Salah, and I was kind of a unanimous no, to be honest with you. Like, he is one of these players that can really hurt you when you take him out. His ownership is usually typically quite high. And my natural reaction was to just say, no, I won't sell Salah. And I'm not going to ever, I don't think, recommend to anyone to sell Salah because he is just one of these players that can just end you. But I'm starting to look at the fixtures now, and I think Chelsea away, not the best. Double game week, Man United and Eintracht Frankfurt. Will I captain him? No, it's probably going to be Haaland. Game week 9, Brentford away, Crystal Palace at home. Do I have the confidence to captain him? Will he start the Carabao Cup? He was completely left out last time. But then again, it's a harder fixture. There's uncertainty. I don't know. Started to move a little bit more towards the sell, but I just don't know if it's absolutely necessary. But I don't see myself captaining him for the next few game weeks. But then you only have to rewind a little bit to that double game week with Atletico in the Champions League where he came away with 25 points in the game week. You just think, is it really worth it? 59% own him in the top 1K, 44% in the overall game currently own him. So that ownership isn't as big as I thought it would be, and you would think that not many people are going to captain him. So it's an option, but I'm not going to recommend it. Defense is an avoid for me at this point. Like Virgil van Dijk, I said, is the only one that I sort of see as being pickable. at the minute, and they're just not keeping clean sheets now. So that's one, two, three. That's 5 games. 5 games without a clean sheet. That last clean sheet must have come against Arsenal. So yeah, I think defense is probably a void at the minute. The fullback positions chop and change. Nate's looking dodgy, and Virgil's the only one we can really trust. And now Allison has picked up an injury. I don't think we know the full extent, but they said he was out until after the international break, which isn't particularly helpful. If it is longer term, though, Mamadashvili, 3.5 million, is going to be dropping zero point 0.3. So you could get a Mamadashvili in goal for Liverpool for 3.2 million. Could be quite nice instead of maybe a Sales. But again, I think I'd need a bit more clarity that he will be in goal for multiple weeks on end. But it does seem to happen quite a lot with Liverpool, with Kelleher in previous seasons. But for me at the moment, I'm going to avoid Liverpool. Chelsea. So it's not an ideal single, is it? Liverpool at home. And the fixtures, when you look at the form, 3-1 Bayern, loss. 2-1 United, loss. Obviously won against Lincoln in the Cup, but lost against Brighton 3-1. But then a 1-0 win against Benfica. It doesn't look good. But that's out of context. Like 2 of those were red card games with United and Brighton. Losing to Bayern is just, it happens. I don't think it's definitely don't target Chelsea. After Liverpool is Forest away, which I don't think is as tough as it was. Ajax at home, Sunderland at home, Wolves away, Spurs away, Karabag away. I think 8 to 10 look really, really nice, actually. But João Pedro, I think I will be selling this week. He's been a little bit off it again, but you have to take it with a pinch of salt again. He's playing as a striker in a team that's had 10 men on occasions. But against Benfica, he was the reason for them having 10 men. Started on the bench and then got himself 2 yellow cards coming on. So he's now suspended from the next Champions League game, which means his fixture run will look like Liverpool at home, an international break where he's now not going to be going away with Brazil. He's not been in the best of condition or something like that, Chelsea have said, and it sounds like they've come to an agreement that he can sort of recover fully and not play internationals. So obviously more nailed for the Forest game without going on international duty, but then he can't play Ajax. So I think 7 and 8 is just a no-go personally, and you can always bring him back for 9 and 10 if you think they look better, but yeah, for me it's a sell. Chalobah, red card, so he misses Liverpool at home. I think I probably would just sell him as well. I don't know if it's particularly worth using a sub on defender in a single, unless your team is in a real big situation. But the 2 players that I really do want to speak about, because they are interesting, and they are the kind of players that I like in Dream Team. So 2 of the top 5 players in the game at the moment. Moises Caicedo at 4.7. He's got the most bonus points in the game, 14. The most tackles in the game, 33. And he's had 2 goals as well. But not only that, 90 minutes in every single match, apart from the Carabao Cup. 6 points and 6 points this game week. I think that's exciting. I think that's an exciting option. Like a Declan Rice last year or like a Tielemans last year. Dependable. And he's not getting rotated like Rice is this season. So I think Caicedo at 4.7 is a really, really nice pick. And you wouldn't be surprised if he racks up the tackles and bonus against Liverpool, would you either? So I think he should be considered. I think he should be considered in our teams. Enzo Fernandez as well. I know a lot of people sold him after a quiet week the week before to dodge price rises. I get it. We all want to build our budget and it's an important part of the game, but he's done well again this week. So 3 goals, 2 assists. The people that kind of couldn't move him on, I think, the people that kind of just had other fires in their team ended up having to keep him and done really well out of it. I think he's a really good pick. 12 points, goal against Brighton. And then when you just look at how many points he's getting every game, when you click on him to get a breakdown, it's like a shopping list every time. There's tackles, there's bonus, there's big chances, there's shots on target. It just does a bit of everything. So yeah, Enzo, Caicedo, really, really exciting picks, but I probably would sell Pedro and Chalobah this week. On to Newcastle. So their fixtures are looking really, really good as well. Nottingham Forest at home, which again, I said, typically harder fixture. But would you be surprised if Ange's playing his high line, his high press? Would you be surprised if Newcastle absolutely play through that? I wouldn't. So I think that's an okay single. And then 8, 9, 10, all look pretty good. So Anthony Gordon, of course, is going to be the guy that we talk about. All of a sudden, it took one game for him to then become flavour of the month because he now is confirmed penalty taker. 2 penalties against Union Saint-Gilloise. Slotted them both in quite nicely. 43rd minute, 64th minute. A brace of penalties, 19 points, 3 bonus points. He's flying. So 23 points to follow on from his 15-pointer against Bradford. So, yeah, fair play if you went for him in that Bradford game. I liked that because he wasn't going to start. You could possibly sub him onto someone and see the lineups, but he went on to play and done really well. And he's even scored against Barca this season. His points total might be a bit lower than you would expect, but he obviously got sent off against Liverpool, so missed a chunk of games as well. So I think Gordon at 4.7 is a really nice pick. You'll get the price rise, and now you've got the pen taker as well. So what's not to like? Voltemade, 3.9 million. Do you know what? He's actually looking really, really good. I don't know who he reminds me of watching him play, but he's silky for a big man. Obviously got the goal against Arsenal. I was going to say out-muscling Gabriel, but he just didn't even out-muscle him, did he? Gabriel just folded. So the goal there, and then, yeah, I didn't even think it was a goal against Union Saint-Gilloise until Connor, my tag team partner on Dream Team, sent me the slowed down version, and he, yeah, silky little flick, gets the goal. So, yeah, nabbed that off Tonali, but yeah, silky for a big man. 18 points, and that's 3 goals in 6 appearances. So what's that? Same amount of goals as Gyökeres already. So could be a pick at 3.9. But you do have Visser, who will be due back, I think, after the international break. So maybe a bit of rotation there. But he's done enough, hasn't he, to be the starting striker for Newcastle. Livramento. Sad to see a knee injury for him, 6 to 8 weeks. It looks like he's going to be out, so it could have obviously been a lot worse. But yeah, not great. He's a good dream team option as well, which is a disappointing one. So that maybe opens it up for Trippier to play sort of more minutes at right back. We know Livramento can fill in doing both. And then Lewis Hall, if he does ever work his way back into being the regular starter, it's got to happen soon. But I'd be a bit careful on that one because Dan Burns obviously started the last 2 at left back, and then there's plenty of centre back depth. So I don't think really any of the centre backs or Burn could be a pick at the moment because if you go Burn, Hall could come in. If you go for one of the centre backs, like I think Malik Chow looked really, really good at centre back, but if Hall comes in, Burn could go to centre back, and you've got Shaw on the bench. Kraft on the bench. Was it Lascelles on the bench for the Arsenal game? So yeah, I think it's a no-go. But Trippier could be interesting. Trippier could be the one that's, he's good for bonus. He's got the set-piece threat as well. But again, there will probably be a little bit of rotation here and there. Spurs. Now, I don't think there's anything particularly to add to Spurs this week. More to take away, really. So 2 draws. 1-1 draw against Wolves where they were pretty disappointing. And then Bodo, 2-2. Yeah, not great, but there was rotation again in that Bodo game. So Champions League definitely not being taken as seriously by teams this season, but you can understand why in these early stages. Romero was left out of the squad for Bodo. Just precautionary. I want to wait and see what the update is from Thomas Frank because I've got him in my team, but that is a little bit of a worry. Porro was rotated for Wolves after playing Doncaster, but then plays Bodo. So he's playing the sort of games that you would kind of want him to play in, the sort of easier fixtures. I would be a little bit worried about his rotation, but when he does play, he still keeps doing okay. So an assist in the Bodo game was looking really, really good watching the highlights back. But obviously he does look a lot better when the other creative outlets aren't on the pitch. Kudus, Simmons, obviously are the main outlets usually in the main team. We had the same scenario with Maddison when Maddison was on at times. Porro wasn't as good last season, and then when Kudus and Simmons seemed to be on, Porro's not as good this time round. But yeah, there seems to be a lot of rotation. I think there's definitely bigger problems in your team than taking Porro out. I've had a lot of questions asking my thoughts on Richarlison. I just don't like him. Sorry, I get it because now Solanke has got an ankle injury and he's going to have surgery on it. But 3.3 million, I guess. Is he worth the 3.3 million? Yes. He had a big miss against Bodo, 90 minutes against Wolves. Still didn't get any sort of attacking returns in that one. Five 5 points in a Bodo and Wolves double. I think you expect more from that. Yeah, for the price, that's the biggest compliment I could say. For 3.3 million, I think he's one of the better picks. But do I want him as one of my strikers in my team? Not particularly, no. Kudos 4.9 million. Had him for quite a while now, and it just ticks along. He's just never an issue. So 90 minutes in the Prem game. I think he could have done a bit better in that one. He had a goal disallowed. He hit the crossbar, so a goal would have been nice. He's been primarily assists so far. Rotation in Bodo, I think, did surprise me a little bit. But even when he came on there, he was still, I think he still got a bonus point, didn't he, in that one off of the bench? And I think he was quite close to getting, 7 ppm in a 30-minute appearance. So close to getting free bonus as well. So I think he's just worth keeping. Simmons seems to be getting more rotation than Kudus. So I think I'd keep Kudus above Simmons at the moment. But again, bonus in both matches that he played this week. So again, I think both are going to be fine this season. Van de Ven is the real winner of the defensive battle at the minute. So at the start of the season, he would have been the guy that I thought would have been at risk of rotation. But he started even at the Bodo game, 3.9 million, and grabbed his second goal, getting on the end of a Porro cross. So only missed Doncaster match so far. So I think still solid pick if you wanted to switch from Romero sideways to Van de Ven if Romero's injured. No arguments. Palace, so they've obviously still got Europe still to play, but they are on an incredible run. 18 games unbeaten. They've just beat Liverpool this week. And now they have Dynamo Kiev in Europe. So Sarr is back, 4.3 million, back from injury. Grabbed the goal in his first game back. This is his third of the season. I think over the course of the season, he could be a nice pick at 4.3. We'll see what he does this evening, if he is fit enough to start to a week yet. Mateta, 4.6. Now, only the 5 points against Liverpool, which I suppose isn't too bad, but he looked a lot better than 5 points. Hitting the post, I think it was in this game, or the crossbar. And then looking at the fixtures going forward, if he is playing them all, I think he will be a pick at 4.6. But maybe there's a lot of greens on this ticker here. I think maybe they are a little bit harder. So Everton away from home, pretty good defence. Bournemouth for a decent side. Obviously Arsenal and then Liverpool. So on paper, like on the ticker, when they're all green, it does look okay. But I think they may be a little bit harder than we first thought. But he's on pens. You'd say he's probably in an informed team as well. So Mateta, definitely a shout. They haven't really got many other options to play that striker role, apart from Nketiah, who I don't see starting many games. Daniel Munoz. So I do expect that he is going to pull ahead with the point scoring. Now they're going to be playing twice a week as well. But currently, he's just on a par with the other centre-backs in the team. So same amount of tackles as Richards and Gahey, who Munoz is a tackle monster. Usually expect him to be right up there for tackle points, but hasn't for some reason been hitting them as much this season. And Mitchell actually is flying for tackles, but I do expect that we see Munoz going back to getting all these tackle points. But for points, not much splitting the defenders. So Gahey's pulled ahead with 55 points. He seems to be getting on the end of a lot of corners and crosses at the minute. So he's pulled away with his attack and returns, 55 points. But Richards, 44. Mitchell, 44. Munoz, 45. So just the extra 1 point for quite a significant price difference at the moment. And then Lacroix, 40 points, a little bit behind. But yeah, at the moment, he isn't doing the extra stuff to warrant the extra money. But I do get the feeling he's just one attack in return or one game away from returning to the Munoz that we know, and then all of a sudden he's flying. So I do think he is still a really, really good pick if you can get there. And then the temptation is, like, I'm looking at Gabriel at 4.9, who really is, I know he scored this week, but he really is clean sheet or bust with a couple of bonus points sprinkled in here and there. Munoz, over the course of 2 seasons now, has been fantastic. So for the extra 0.6, normally I would go for Munoz. I think maybe we just wait and see and maybe make that switch a little bit later. Couple cheap enablers. Pino, 3.1. Kamada, 3.6. I think I would slightly favour Kamada. He just seems to have a few more routes to points at the minute. He did get the assist in this Liverpool game, but when you do sort of click on him and see the breakdown, it seems like Kamada does get a few more like tackle points and bonus here and there compared to Pino. But Pino does get himself into some nice positions. It just doesn't look like it's quite happened for him yet. Villa, obviously still to play, and I don't really have too much to input on Villa. I want to see more. I want to get a bigger sample size because they haven't been great. But it is back-to-back wins against Bologna and Fulham. Rodgers off the mark with an assist. Watkins off the mark with a goal. But I just don't think you bring them in this week. If you've got them, you keep them for Burnley and hope that they continue. But I wouldn't be in a rush to buy them. I'd need to see that this isn't just a one-off game where they've bounced back. But Burnley does look like a nice fixture. If I had them, I definitely wouldn't take them out. I would take out Harvey Elliott. I think it's fair to say that one hasn't worked out. 45 minutes sub. Does Emery fancy him? I'm not so sure. So Elliott would be out for me if I had him. Conser and Cash, though, no problems. Conser 3.8, Cash 3.9, as long as they, touch wood, get through this evening's games, I think they're fine going forward. I think both of them are decent enough picks and seem to be getting solid minutes. And then on to Forest, but again, I don't have too much to contribute to Forest in a minute as well. I really want to see what they do this evening in Europe, but it's not looking good so far for Ange. So no wins in 5, lost to Arsenal, lost to Swansea, draw against Burnley, draw against Betis, and then a loss to Sunderland as well. Obviously, it will take a little bit of time to sort of click, and you can see that they're starting to play differently, more attacking, but it's not really reflecting in Dream Team points, and I think the picks that I like are still the same picks. So next 4, looking pretty difficult. Newcastle away, Chelsea at home, Porto at home, Bournemouth away, then come game week 10, Man United. Is that going to be an hammer in Man United? Who knows? But yeah, I think we need to wait and see again. But Douglas Luiz now out injured, and Zinchenko is an injury now as well, which is a real shame if you did go there because I thought he would be a nice pick, but just can't seem to stay fit. Morgan Gibbs-White and Hudson-Odoi benched for the last game, which is surprising, but maybe he's giving everyone a bit of a run out. But then again, he subbed everyone early to get them back on. So really, really strange trying to work out really where to go. And I think the only safe places are Anderson at 4 million, who I've got. Quieter game last week, 4 points, 2 lots of tackle points, but happy to hold. And then Williams, I still think is a really solid pick. 3.3 million is a nice price. I'd much rather a Williams than the Pau Torres, for example. Got tackles, got bonus, and was only 1 ppm of hitting 3 bonus points. So again, I think Williams is a really nice pick. And then Sells, 2.9. I don't think you make that transfer this week. And I think you can possibly wait and then get a bit more info where it is a single game week. Maybe a Marmadashvili is available at a little bit more money, but I think he's going to be a fine pick going forward. Captaincy, I can't see any further than Haaland, to be honest. I just don't see what is to gain from taking that risk at the minute because he's just in such good form. And there's not really anyone competing with the level that he's at the moment. So at Arsenal, you've got Saka and Gyökeres potentially against West Ham. But yeah, there's question marks over minutes potentially with Saka. Gyökeres, you're taking a punt on like potential, or we haven't quite seen it yet. He's definitely not at the level of Haaland, so Haaland's above him here. Spurs, Villa, United all play newly promoted sides, but the newly promoted sides have been better than expected. Villa and United have been worse than expected. And then who are you going to cap at Spurs? Like Kudus? Yeah, looks fine, but are you really going to back Kudus over Haaland at the moment? No chance. So for me, unanimous Haaland. I know it's boring, but do you know what isn't boring? Slapping your armband on Haaland and coming away with 76 points. Boosters, I would pass until a double game week. Again, yeah, I just don't see the value in playing it this week, to be honest with you. But if you have any sub dilemmas, if you're contemplating a substitution, rather than me list them all out, let me know if there's anyone that you are contemplating subbing out this week, and I'll let you know who I think are the better options to replace them with potentially. But I do think, can you just get through this week? You've got an international break to recover if they are injured, and then they might be back after that. Team update then. So I've still got players to play. Konsa, Lacroix, Anderson, if they even do play. But it's not been a great week. 123 points looks amazing, but the bulk of that is Erling Haaland's 76 pointer. I've gone from 6.9k to 9.6k this week. Let me know in the comments below how you scored and what your rank is at the moment. But this week for me, Rofs has been incredible. So another 10 pointer for Rofs. He's just doing everything to not get transferred out of my side. Lacroix with the 4, a little bit disappointing, but it was Liverpool. What do you expect? Consul with the 3. Romero with the 3, that was a disappointing one because I did think that Romero's the kind of guy that does play twice a week most of the time, but obviously injury precaution popped up. And then he was added to a list of, well, Romero, Kudus, Eze, João Pedro, and Salah, who were benched this week. So Kudus got me 8 points, Foden got me just the 5, Anderson the 4, but obviously a game still to play. Eze, one of my transfers in, I think I found the Newcastle game really promising. It's hard not to get disheartened about not playing the Olympiacos game, but even though I did, when I brought him in, I said I don't expect him to start Newcastle. So he's played a game and a sub appearance, exactly what I expected, but maybe I just expected a bit more than 5 points if he had started the Olympiacos game. Salah with the 4, surprise benching, and then losing to Galatasaray. Did come on, but only played the 28 minutes. Yeah, 76 points. And then João Pedro, if the benching wasn't enough, coming on and getting a red card in 29 minutes, just about topped off the week. So yeah, let me know how you got on. Let's have a look at my thoughts for this week. So this is how my team is looking without any transfers made. Rofs away at Man United, I think absolutely fine to keep. I won't look to move him out unless it's for a fixture game later on, someone in Europe. Lacroix Everton, fine fixture. Consa Burnley, fine fixture. Romero Leeds, fine fixture if he's still fit. So we'll have to wait and see what Thomas Frank says on that. But yeah, question mark over Romero. He could be someone that comes out possibly, depending on the news. Kudus, Leeds, absolutely fine. Foden, yeah, you could nitpick and say, oh, it's disappointing. He could get a drop, but I think against Brentford, that's absolutely fine as well. Anderson, Newcastle, he's got a game to play, so we'll see how he does. But I think I'm pretty fine holding on to Anderson longer term. Eze, West Ham, obviously benched for Olympiacos. So the positive of that is that he's surely going to start West Ham, which you think is a nice fixture. Personally, I think he'll play on the left wing in that one. I think Ødegaard's done enough to come into the team. Salah, Chelsea away. I'm not expecting much. But the only thing I would say is Chelsea have got suspensions. They have got injuries at the back. So that could possibly play into Liverpool's hands there. And Salah is obviously a little bit fresher, having not played Galatasaray. Haaland, Brentford away. Just slap the cap on him. And then Pedro, Liverpool at home. But yeah, not feeling so good about Pedro. He's obviously playing with some sort of difficulty at the minute. And obviously longer term, he's going to have the suspension in Champions League. So currently, Pedro is the guy that I'm definitely going to take out. Romero is the question mark who I could take out. Obviously, Anderson, Lacroix, Consa still to play. Anything could happen with there. But currently, as it stands, Pedro and Romero are the two that I'll be looking to possibly move on. But I'm actually looking at maybe just the one transfer this week. So let's do the screen share and show you my team, what I could potentially consider doing. So, like I said, João Pedro, definitely going to come out 4.9 million. So this week, I was always eyeing up going for the Arsenal defender for this West Ham fixture, but not just for that. The fixtures longer term look really, really nice. So for me, I was going to go for Calafiori. I've been eyeing up Calafiori this whole season, really thinking, the first couple of games, I didn't even think he was going to start with. But then after that, he seemed to be running a string of games together. And then you thought, yeah, but Skelly will probably come in eventually. It wasn't happening. So then I thought Calafiori is getting to a nice price point. He's now at 4.4, which looks like a nice one to go for. And now he's had sort of 2 benchings in the last 3 games. There is definitely risk involved with going for him. I'm pretty certain he will play West Ham. But what's to say that, he doesn't then get a rest in one of these 2 Fulham or Atletico games. I think in game week 9, he'll definitely get rested for Brighton. The only thing I would say is the Atletico game is obviously a tough Champions League match, but it's at home. Skelly's been trusted for games like Real Madrid, so it's not exactly like it's one that he will struggle with. So yeah, Calafiori is an option, but it's not entirely nailed now, you would say. And then there is also the fact that he's probably going to drop 0.3 because he's only scored 1 point this week. So Calafiori could be getting the price drop. I do have the exact funds to go João Pedro at 4.9 to Gabriel. Now, on the other hand, Gabriel typically would be completely nailed. I think there isn't really a stand-in left centre-back. I know Mascara came in and played there, but typically he does seem to be off the right rather than off the left, and Hincapi seems to be injured. So Gabriel could come in at centre-back there, and that uses all of my budget there. So I'd have to make another move if I wanted someone elsewhere. But if I did that, I quite like that team personally, but there is obviously the concern, will he, won't he play Gabriel? If it is a serious injury, I don't think it is. I think he will play, but there is a bit of doubt. There is definitely a bit of doubt. And then what can I do with a second move? So obviously no money in the bank. Who would I take out? It's probably going to be Romero, I think, which 4.1. If I was going to do another move, it would have been like another Arsenal defender, I think, which 4.1 I can't this week get to Calafiori because he's 4.4. He might be 4.1 next week, but can't get there this week. And then Romero's price could change. And then I'd probably, one of the other players I would like is obviously a Gyökeres, possibly, or a Saka, but I can't get to Saka. And I can't get to Gyökeres with 4.1 million, which is a shame. I would be interested maybe Ødegaard. Like it is a bit reactionary because he's not someone that I typically would pick on Dream Team. Like I don't think he's great for Dream Team points personally, but he was impressive. He was impressive yesterday. And I do think we will see Ødegaard in the middle against West Ham and Eze on the left. But then I feel a little bit like, am I just compromising and getting the not best Arsenal midfielder in, or the not best asset in when I want Gyökeres? So could I be possibly better off just leaving it at one transfer, and then, you know, the following week I could make a multi transfer with 3 transfers to find a way to get Gyökeres in potentially, and we'll have a bit more information as well on the sort of Arsenal lineup and how everyone's looking. Yeah, it might be a case of leaving Romero in. I don't know who else I'd possibly bring in for him if this is the case, if he is injured as well. I think Newcastle. I think Newcastle's defence looks okay. Obviously, I mentioned Hall is the one that I kind of do want, but he's up to 4.2 now. And yeah, question marks over his minutes as well. Trippier, 3.9 could fit quite nicely in there if I had to do it. But I don't know if I definitely do want him in the longer term. So yeah, I'm currently just leaning towards maybe just making the one transfer. But if I do find out that Romero definitely is going to be out, or it sounds like he's likely to be a doubt, he's probably going to come out. And then if we hear that Gabriel is a doubt, then maybe I do just go for Calafiori and take the drop. But yeah, this week I don't feel entirely confident with the moves. I had toyed around with, and I don't know why I'm even teasing myself with it, but I do like the look of doing Pedro out and Salah out. But I don't think I'm going to take Salah out. I don't think I have the cojones to lose Mohamed Salah personally. So, but I do like the look of being able to do Salah out to Gyökeres, for example, and then doing a Gabriel possibly in at centre back. I think that looks really nice. Still money in the bank, but obviously that game week 8 double does look a little bit scary for Salah if I did want him back. So I think the most likely scenario is that I'd go for Gabriel in as the one transfer and then roll the second. That is everything for this episode. So if you've enjoyed it, please do leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and head over to the Dream Team Tonic podcast. We did an episode on Monday, and there'll be a live stream this evening from Ben and Tony on the Deadline stream. So check that one out. There'll be a link in the description below afterwards. Thanks for watching.